Well, good morning. It's great to be here. A lot of friendly faces in the audience. It's always great to get together in the HIMSS community and enjoy our time together, and hopefully really get some value out of this. Really excited about this panel focused here on innovation. I'm going to spend just a couple of minutes to kind of set the stage and tee things up a little bit, and then I'll introduce the panel, and we'll get down to some really interesting conversations. And great, again, thanks to David for the keynote. Did a really wonderful job. So again, we'll just speak about setting the stage for a little bit. I have the presentation of the different models in innovation, and then have some time for interactive Q&A. This is an interesting chart because I know what we'll talk about today is kind of different ways that organizations are approaching innovation. But this is a Gartner slide that really talks about the maturity model of innovation. So independent of which model you may be using, or if you have a hybrid of a couple different innovation models, this one is pretty interesting because it kind of starts over on the left with reactive organizations. So you may have your CEO for your hospital or system say, hey, what's this buzz about innovation? Everybody's doing it. I need you to go find a conference and figure out something about innovation because we have to tell the board. So that's kind of that reactive mode. And you might say, hey, well, there's one here, so I'm going to check that box. That's what you're doing here today. But hopefully you want to take it further than that. So an active model for innovation is maybe where you're funding some innovation. It may not be a full-blown program, but there's actually, someone has an innovative idea. You can actually get some legs, take it through the governance process, and maybe your organization is willing to take a little risk and do something different and new and innovative. And then really when you start to get to level 3 is really where there's a good commitment. So you start to look at what's going on outside of your organization, maybe even in different industries to see what's going on. You actually maybe put in a team. Some people will hire a chief innovation officer, have some funding available in a more structured way, and have some good, active executive support. So it's more than just a fad or kind of a buzz term. And then really level 4 is really where you've kind of graduated to that performing status. We hosted at our Innovation Center in Newport Beach about 32 innovation centers from across the country several months ago. And those are the organizations that I would kind of categorize in this performing level. So they have some strategic partnerships. They might tap on some outside resources. They're really using innovation as a catalyst, using some best practices, but really they're kind of fully planned and functioning and funded within the organization at that kind of enterprise level. They're not just seen as kind of a side department or a thing of the day, but they're actually kind of a going part of the organization. And then ultimately, you want to get where innovation is pervasive within the organization. Using things like open innovations, we've deployed a social ideation platform as an example. It's where you're really tapping on the entire organization for ideas. It's really kind of pervasive across the culture of the organization. So that's really where you're really at that level 5. And lastly, it has on here where it's a core competency of the organization. So when you start to hire and retain people, you're looking for innovation as an attribute in the hiring process. So it's not just this thing that sits off to the side. So I think this is a nice backdrop to kind of have as we move into the different models, because again, depending on which model you use or hybrid, you can actually kind of rank yourself and try to move again from the left over to the right in this chart. Just one quick thing on our model at the Innovation Institute. While it has St. Joseph Health here, we're actually owned by multiple health systems. So Bon Secours on the East Coast is 19 hospitals. They're an equity owner in the Innovation Institute along with St. Joseph. And we've got another one that we'll be announcing this week that we're very excited about. And our model is a little unique in the aspect of, you see all these kind of blocks in the middle. So we have a shared services organization that has a portfolio of 7 companies that actually generate about 135 million in revenue to help sustain our innovation. So we kind of have this revenue engine because it typically can take 3 to 5 years for some of the commercialization activities to really get any sustainable piece of contribution financially. So we've got a kind of a unique piece in our model. So 2 things: that it's multi-health system. We'll have 7 nonprofit health systems. So that's pretty exciting thing about our model. So enough about that, and I will move on to the real models of innovation in the Southern California kind of format. So these are our panelists. They will talk about the models of innovation, but very excited to have Katherine Steinberg with us from UCLA Health. We've got Ryan Kelly next to her from Cleveland Clinic, Brant Heise from the new Summation Health Ventures, which is a joint between Cedars and Memorial Care, and Casie Kelly from UCI. So what I'll basically do is let them each give an introduction, about 8 to 10 minutes or so of their models. I think it's pretty interesting because we'll see some diversity of organizations that take innovation from the outside, push it within their organization, some that tap employees and move it out to try to commercialize, and then also a model that talks about investing in early stage companies and adopting those innovations as a way to propagate innovation within the organization and get some return from that perspective as well. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to Katherine first, and we'll just go down the line.
Thank you, Larry. It's great to be here on this gloomy Los Angeles day. We get to connect a little bit with the rest of the country, but without the winter coats, so that's kind of nice. Thank you for including me. This is exciting, and this is a really interesting panel because we all really do approach innovation differently here. At UCLA, we are 4-hospital system, about 800 beds, 150 clinics. And we have an innovation institute that was established about 3.5 years ago. I'm going to talk a little bit about our mission, our focus on using innovation to accelerate our health system strategy, our innovation to transformation model, and finally share a little bit about some examples of innovations that we're working on. So UCLA's mission is to deliver leading-edge patient care, research, and education. And we do this with a vision that aims to heal humankind one patient at a time by improving health, alleviating suffering, and delivering acts of kindness. So how can we do that without looking to partner both with other organizations, both within healthcare as well as external to healthcare, by really understanding what our patients' needs are, and partnering with IT to really understand what the opportunity is. And so with that, what you see behind me is our institute's mission, which is really to accelerate providing value to patients. I'm looking through the camera to see my slides, so I apologize. Oh, thank you. So what you see here is our focus. We really we focus on using innovation to drive our strategic objectives, and within that, always with the patient at the forefront of anything that we're doing. We have a small team, and so we focus on innovations that accelerate largely population health goals. So, of course, our triple aim guides innovation, but then we're also looking to leverage our physicians. We're looking to decrease cost of care, improve access for patients, and of course, we're a TQ system, so we're bringing in new TQ volume to UCLA Health. So we have a disciplined structure that we've used, and this is something that we one of the reasons the Institute was established. Innovation is pervasive at UCLA, even prior to the Institute being established. But what we did was offer an infrastructure and a mechanism to bring innovations in. We're agnostic as to where they come from. They could come from internal to the UCLA health system. They could come from an external commercial company. The goal is really to accelerate achieving our strategic goals. And so we do this by identification of the right innovations to drive our strategy, piloting those innovations, and working to design something that can work in the UCLA workflow that physicians will accept. One of the things that we're trying to do along with our physician leverage goal is really increase the joy physicians have in practicing medicine. With more and more demands on physicians, this is critical to our success as an organization. And then finally, to deploy that innovation, we start with a small pilot, but ultimately our goals with any innovation that we bring into the health system is to scale it across the system. And this is an example of one of our most successful innovations, which is really an innovation to transformation process. And the neat thing about this process is that it's now part of the vernacular at UCLA. When we're rolling out large-scale change in the organization, this innovation to transformation process is utilized. People understand the roles, people understand the accountability, and it drives our success. Some of the statistics that you see at the bottom are related to our primary care innovation model, which brought several innovations in, starting with 5 of our primary care clinics, and we deployed them there as our pilot site. And after measuring their success and realizing that this was a large opportunity, we then rolled them out to the remainder of our clinics. And this process was so successful that now it's being used in many aspects of change at UCLA. For this primary care innovation model alone, we found that initial evaluation showed that we reduced emergency department visits by more than 20% as compared to the clinics where the model had not yet been rolled out. And that's just one of our evaluation metrics for this innovation. Not going to talk too long about this, but this really points out that one of our learnings over the past 3 years was that for innovation to be successful, we needed to start with our leadership and make sure that anything that we brought in was supported. And if we were able to achieve the goals that we set out and in the beginning, then they were going to support their scaling and deployment across the system. And when we had alignment around that and around any innovation being appropriate for our drivers, then we were really able to deploy that innovation to transformation model even more successfully. So the last example I wanted to give of an innovation that we've brought in is something we're really excited about. It's zipnosis. And zipnosis is a mechanism for providing online diagnosis and treatment to our patients. It basically allows patients to go onto their computer at any time of day, fill out a smart survey answering some questions about themselves. And if they're appropriate, then our clinicians on the other side are able to diagnose and treat them. This is asynchronous, so the patient can be in their pajamas, the physician can be at their office or where, between patients, whatever they might do. And it really leverages physicians' time because it really only takes a few minutes for them to review the information, and it leverages our patients' time. They don't need to take a half day off work to go into their primary care office because they have a sinus infection or their child has diaper rash and needs it to be treated. This is something that really does put kind of the patient's needs at the forefront of what we're trying to accomplish. We just launched this, and we're hoping to be able to roll it out even beyond our own patient population at some point. Right now, it's for UCLA patients. And finally, I just wanted to close on an external perspective of one of our focuses at UCLA, which is based off our own learning about the needs of innovations. We get approached all the time from innovators at different stages, And we love that. We learn so much from people and what they're working on and the problems they're trying to solve. We're only able to partner with the ones where there's real strategic alignment. But we realized that we had a really good understanding both of what ourselves as adopters need and then the relationships that we were building with innovators and what their needs were. So we created a cloud-based platform where innovators can go and create a profile for their innovation. The questions that they're asked are based on the needs of adopting organizations, whether they be a system like UCLA or a payer system or whatnot. And this is really a matchmaking opportunity. Providers can go on and find the types of innovations that they're looking for. They can understand where those innovations are in their process. At UCLA, we tend not to partner with kind of alpha stage companies. We want, from a de-risking perspective, to know that it's worked elsewhere. And so that's important to us, and for that reason, and we know it's important to others, and so for that reason, you can go on and there's validated results from other organizations. So the innovator can say, I've achieved X, and then there's also results from other organizations that say, yes, we did improve our readmissions rates, and this is how we did it, and these were the barriers, and these were the drivers of our success. And we're really hoping that this becomes a way to accelerate innovation across the country and hopefully globally as well. So with that, I'll pass it back to Larry. Thank you.
All right. Well, thank you very much, Katherine. And I will pass it on to Ryan Kelly from Cleveland Clinic.
Everybody hear me okay? Is this working? All right, a little bit. So yeah, thank you for having us here. It's a pleasure to be a part of this event, and we're excited to participate. I'll be sharing with you, as Larry mentioned, there we are, a little bit about Cleveland Clinic, just a quick snapshot on how we approach innovation and how, more specifically, how we approach commercializing innovation developed by our faculty and staff to become medical products. Quick level set for those of us that aren't as familiar with the Cleveland Clinic. We're a large nationally ranked hospital, catered to a number of specialties, probably most well known for our work in the cardiovascular space. We've got facilities all around the globe. We're headquartered in Cleveland, Ohio, of course, and a fairly robust basic research program as well. Now, within Cleveland Clinic, the Cleveland Clinic Innovations Group, or CCI, is the group that's really tasked with translating the emerging technologies that come out of the labs and out of the faculty and out of the clinics within Cleveland Clinic to become medical products. And so more broadly, we're really also focused on creating that culture and infrastructure to support that innovation and encourage innovative thinking and encourage them to work with us to bring their ideas, their products to us so we can explore whether it makes sense to pursue broader commercialization around that. And our goal, again, is taking those innovative ideas, innovative products and services, and looking to see if there's an opportunity to commercialize them outside of the institution, focused on creating products that have the most meaningful impact on patients' lives and also on optimizing financial outcomes as an alternative source of revenue for the Cleveland Clinic, bringing revenue back from those commercialization activities. Quick snapshot of our scorecard. We've been around for 15 years. In that time, we've spun out 71 companies that have raised nearly $800 million in equity investment. 12 of those have actually reached monetization through sale, acquisition, or IPO. We're very, very, very proud of that. We look at all avenues of commercialization, including spin-out, license agreements, co-development, equity partnerships, et cetera. We've got roughly 2,600 patent applications under management, executed about 450 licensing transactions, and are really trying to grow that operation. And we're focused on creating the best spin-out opportunities that we can around the technologies that come into our portfolio. Historically, the portfolio has been fairly med device heavy, but what we've seen in the last 4 years is really strong growth in the HIT area of our portfolio. It's gone from 8% to nearly 25% in 4 years. And we're seeing anything from mobile apps to support population health initiatives, desktop applications for back office non-clinical services, data analytics for supporting clinical decision-making and operational decision-making. So we see a wide range of products coming in, or opportunities for commercialization coming into our portfolio in the HIT space, and we're excited to see that growth. And a quick overview of the process that I think will highlight how we approach this process of evaluating and eventually developing and hopefully commercializing our technologies, it's a slight twist on the traditional tech transfer model that many of you are already aware of. But an idea comes in, or a concept or a product comes in through an intake process, and then it's triaged for review by a peer review committee. And these committees are actually very powerful. They are staffed with domain-specific experts in a particular domain from within the clinic. And so we've got committees around urology, neurology, heart and vascular, nursing, HIT, orthopedics, and their job is to really, at the very front end, assess the clinical and technical feasibility of the disclosure or the opportunity that comes across our desk. And so they bring a lot of insight to the conversation. They can help us ask the questions: is the problem real? Are we positioning this correctly? Who would adopt this? Would you adopt this? What are the drivers for adoption? So we can really start to articulate that value proposition early and ask these tough questions early that oftentimes aren't asked until tens of thousands of dollars are invested into the project. And another side benefit of these committees is that a lot of them, because they're experts, they also serve as KOLs or SMEs out in industry, so they can bring market intelligence to the discussion as well and help us understand where the markets are trending and see if we're actually thinking about these opportunities in the right way. So we found great value in those committees. And so for technologies that pass that stage gate, that get the thumbs up, so to speak, will then pass into one of 4 specific incubators. And these are not brick and mortar incubators, but rather virtual incubators, staffed with experts in market intelligence, product development, intellectual property, transactions. And their job is to then take that opportunity, further evaluate it, and if it is discovered to have sufficient merit, then allocate some product development funds toward developing it and de-risking it, maybe through proof of concept, to get it to a point where it's attractive enough and de-risked enough for a company to care about it, either through a co-development opportunity or through a licensing transaction. What we're seeing in the space is that industry says, yeah, we want early projects, but early to them is phase 2. Early to them is post-clinical study. But there is a sweet spot somewhere in there where we can have industry feedback come in, inform this conversation, inform the development, so we're developing products in the right way to where they're going to care at the end of the day, and we can put it into their hands where they can market and sell it. And so again, the take-home really here is that we're trying to engage the right experts at the right time to inform how we evaluate and how we develop these innovation opportunities to become really powerful medical products that will, impact patients' lives, but also return some financial outcome for the institution and help us grow. And the model that I just described was intentionally designed to scale easily. So because of that, it's allowed CCI to bring its services, its commercialization services, to a number of provider networks around the country, establishing what we call the Innovations Healthcare Alliance Network. Each alliance partner, as we call them, can plug directly into CCI's engine, commercialization engine, and get access to all the resources that CCI brings to the table. And conversely, the clinic, Cleveland Clinic, is also able to tap into what's happening outside their 4 walls. They get access to a broader base of technology, and they can see what's happening in the community healthcare setting, because the majority of these partners are actually in the community healthcare setting outside of academia, which is, as we know, very different healthcare setting. And so each alliance partner has a dedicated CCI employee on the ground to facilitate the partnership and provide intellectual property support and commercialization strategy. And I personally serve Innovation Institute, working very closely with Larry and his team on their portfolio. And just to close, another, what we think is a unique and really powerful resource that CCI set up is the DCOE, the Digital Center of Excellence. And what that does, it helps us translate HIT products to market faster. So it provides people, process, and some platform technology to help through the ideation, prototyping, development, implementation, and eventually commercialization of these HIT solutions faster and more efficiently, so we can get it out there, gather feedback, and really see if we're targeting the right user base and establish that user base. So eventually, if we do want to approach a larger commercial partner, we have technology, we may have some IP, but we also have an established install base that we can say, here's a customer base ready to go for you. And so it allows us to do that quickly. And part of the DCOE is an online e-commerce site called Adeo, where CCI and its alliance partners can offer for sale its HIT products, ranging from apps to desktop solutions to business services. They can all be put up on that site for sale for customers to access and download directly. So it's a powerful way for us to really leverage resources and take reusable assets and leverage them across a number of different products to get to optimize our efficient use of those resources and get products to market faster. And so that's all I have today. Happy to answer questions during the panel.
Thank you, Ryan. And we'll turn it over to Brant Heise, who will talk about Summation and their venture between Memorial and Cedars-Sinai.
Great. Thank you, Larry. Thanks for having me here. Well, you'll hear that our model is a little bit different here than my counterparts. And we're a little bit closer, I think, probably to Catherine's model, but we'll value partnerships with Cleveland Clinic, we'll value partnerships with others. And the model that we have taken now at Summation Health Ventures is really much more of a venture capital model. So what we do is have a strategic healthcare investment fund that is out there looking for products, service, technologies that can really add value to our healthcare systems. And as I mentioned, this is a partnership now between Cedars and Memorial Care. Memorial Care has actually been doing this for 13, 14 years now, and just recently we added Cedars-Sinai into our model for this. Our model is really to keep it very small and to keep it really to these two organizations, maybe another organization here in the future. But we really value being able to go deep into the organizations and really want to have this environment where the entrepreneurial community can come together and work very closely with these two healthcare systems. So we feel that a lot of the innovation out there, similar to what you've heard Ryan talk about, it is really kind of in the entrepreneurial community, whether it's internal entrepreneurial activity or external entrepreneurial activity. And we're focused on the external side of the equation here. So we're out there looking for products, services, and technologies that have been bubbled up either from another healthcare organization or just strictly from the outside, that are now a little bit farther along. Many of them have revenue, have clients out there, have an existing structure and base that they're working from, that we want to then add value to those types of things. We're very focused on healthcare IT, although we've certainly done tech-enabled services, medical devices, biotech. We really don't limit it from that perspective. The only area that I always say that we've stayed exclusively away from is pharmaceuticals. We're not pharmaceutical investors, and really that's not where we're finding the innovation within the healthcare system. So our goals are really Berwick's triple aim, really to add value to the patient and clinician engagement, certainly to reduce the overall cost of care and also enhance the quality of care. So we're after that triple aim for that. What you see here is our mission statement. We're a strategic investment model, but we're doing that very specifically around adding value to the healthcare systems. We're looking for ways that they can start to enhance and improve what they're already doing. Our philosophy, our guiding philosophy in that is really taking a look at the strategic relationship equally, if not more importantly, than the financial relationship that we have in these companies. So when we get involved in a company, we want to be very hands-on. We want the entrepreneurs to have a very dynamic working relationship with both Cedars and Memorial Care, and we really value that. That synergy between the entrepreneur and the healthcare system is really where we see that value. Of course, we're as investors looking to get a good financial return on our investment, but really we see the true value being the synergy between the entrepreneur and the healthcare system. To give you a better sense of what we're looking for, and I realize this is somewhat of an eye chart here for you, but as I said, the stage of the company is a little bit later than what you heard Ryan talking about. So we really are looking at de-risking that from a perspective of working with earlier stage, but not too early. So if they're involved in an FDA regulated area, we'd actually like them to already have their FDA approvals. We'd like them already to have at least one or two clients out there that they're working with, and want to de-risk it a little bit along those lines. But we also want to make sure that they're still early enough in their life cycle that they can benefit from working with folks at Cedars and Memorial Care and working with what we're doing. The other important component here on this slide is the origin of the company. We are exclusively external focused. We're not bubbling up. We're not doing tech transfer. We're not working with our people within our organizations to develop these companies and commercialize them. We're looking outside in to help our healthcare systems innovate along those lines. The sectors, the third line down, you see there, healthcare IT, medical device, pharma. We really want it to be something that is considering the healthcare system or the physicians surrounding the healthcare system as their core market, their core audience for that. Dropping down a little bit more, the business model here, we pay particular attention to the business model. We want them to really be focused on a hard value prop for the clients, the hospitals and the physicians. We also want them to really pay attention to the healthcare environment as a whole and be addressing regulatory issues or other challenges facing the healthcare organization. And we want them to do that in a very commercially viable way and focus along those lines. So our model is really pretty straightforward. We first and foremost are out there looking for entrepreneurial opportunities in the environment. And we get these from several different ways. Certainly within the healthcare systems, many of you, I'm sure, get barraged with vendors or others saying, hey, we'd love to work with your healthcare system and you want to add value to what you're doing. Same thing happens at Cedars and Memorial Care. And so they'll actually pass along to me some of the leads that they get that they think fit this entrepreneur's model for that. So that's one way. We certainly get opportunities brought to us from people we've co-invested with. Cleveland Clinic, Mayo Clinic, some of the others out there that are actually also doing some investments will work with us along those lines. We're out there being proactive and looking for opportunities that will help us focus on readmission rates or focus on decreasing cost of care or communication challenges or whatnot. So we'll be proactive. And then finally, we get certainly cold called directly as well for those. The second, once we have identified a opportunity here that we're taking a look at, the second part of the model is to confirm that it really fits the strategic direction of Memorial Care and Cedars. And make sure it's a good fit with the priorities that the leadership in these organizations have identified. A big part of our model is making sure that we can drop these companies in and start to work with them on a pilot basis or a full-blown contract basis. And so we need to make sure that they're directionally correct with what we're focused on at our two organizations. The third stage here then is to get our experts deeply involved in the diligence process. So if it's cardiology product, we'll go to the cardiologist. If it's an IT product or whatnot, we'll go to the IT department. We'll really draw from within the 24,000 employees of both Memorial Care and Cedars to help us not only understand is this an opportunity that is good from a business perspective, but also directionally correct and makes sense for where they see within their areas as something that we can focus on. Once we pass all those hurdles, then we go ahead and invest in the company and start to collaborate with them. And again, this is really where we value this relationship between the entrepreneur and the healthcare system. We find that by working with them at beta project level, pilot project level, we can start to add value to the entrepreneur along those lines and start to focus how they're directing their product, their service, their technology, but also start to get from inside the organizations a different way of thinking about problem solving and what's happening along those lines. So that's the fourth stage of the model. So the value prop here on the entrepreneurial side, they certainly get capital to us. When we invest, we're investing millions of dollars into these companies. So they get resources to develop. They certainly get access to our expertise within the healthcare organizations and the collaboration along that line. They also get access to a client site, a reference site for them. Certainly we're out there making introductions and trying to expand their horizon with other healthcare systems and investors. And all of that obviously is adding value to that particular portfolio company for them. For the healthcare systems perspective, we get access and exposure to very early stage opportunities that we may not have thought about before internally. We also get a seat at the table. When we're investing in these companies, we get a board position on the company, and so we can help them direct their development, their R&D to a great extent on that. We also get enhanced quality of care and cost reduction. Again, all that we're investing in is something that's going to make an impact within our organizations. And so by getting involved early, we can start to realize that pretty quickly. Lastly, for the healthcare systems, it's amazing to me how often I get the physicians coming up to me and saying, we appreciate your involving us in this process. You know, nobody has really asked us very early stage opportunities and taken a look at technologies out there, and they really enjoy that. They like the involvement of the physicians.
I'm just going to interrupt just for a second. We're having a little trouble hearing, so if you could either pull it off or get it closer.
There we go. And then lastly, the win for the investment side, obviously, having access to all our providers, the 24,000 physicians and staff within the organization, certainly gives us a very good way of looking at our investment opportunities and de-risking them from the diligence perspective. Again, having a seat at the table has made a tremendous difference, helping direct these companies in the direction that they're going in. And then finally, just this whole life cycle enhances the value of their portfolio company, which on the investment side, we realize when those companies sell or do an IPO along those lines. So that's our model. Happy to go into more in-depth and questions.
Thank you, Brant. And to round out the presentations is Casie Kelly from UC Irvine.
Thank you. Can everyone hear this good? Okay, I'll keep it up. So our model at UC Irvine, I'm from the tech transfer office, so we're most closely like what Ryan was talking about, so he gave a really good introduction, so I don't have to go into the background of tech transfer, and I can focus a little bit on what's new at UCI and what we're doing a little differently. Let's see, so I have to move this along. Okay, good. So first I wanted to give you a little background just about UC. We're a 10-campus system up and down California. And we have over 200,000 faculty and staff. So each of the different campuses, we each have our own tech transfer office, so we each manage a portfolio of inventions separately, but we all communicate and have similar practices. But our portfolio as a system is more than 11,000 inventions, and we get more than 1,700 every year that we have to evaluate and decide how we're going to move these along. We also have about $4.1 billion in research expenditures. So this, you know, part of our mission we see is to return an investment on all of that government money or state money that the university is using in their research labs. So that's part of our mission. So for UCI in particular, we have a portfolio of about 950 inventions, and we have 6 licensing officers who have different areas of expertise and manage the different inventions from parts of the campus, like engineering or medical devices, et cetera. About 25% of our portfolio is licensed to either a startup company or an existing company, and you know those companies are really responsible for the actual commercialization and creating a product based on our IP. We get about 120 to 140 new inventions every year. And during the history, I'm actually surprised that Cleveland Clinic and UCI are pretty similar. We've had about 70 startups throughout the history of our office, and more than half of them are still have been acquired or are still operating. So they have a pretty good success rate. So our office is called the Office of Technology Alliances. And so, as I mentioned, we're the tech transfer office, so we're managing all of the inventions that are created by UCI faculty, students, staff. And so what this really entails is building a good relationship with our faculty and researchers so they feel comfortable coming to us and getting feedback on their inventions and wanting to work with us. We manage the patent prosecution process. So we're making the decisions on, you know, what to file patents on, when to have to, you know, say no and cut it off because we're running out of money or what it may be. And then we're looking for commercial partners to take the early stage technologies and try to build a product or company around them. And our office is also responsible for negotiating and managing all of the licensing agreements that go along with these activities. Let's see. So, the goal of our office, the main goal is really to bring the technology out of the lab and into the marketplace for the public benefit. We want to receive fair value for the technology, and it's extremely important for us to preserve academic freedom for our researchers. So if they leave or want to collaborate with anyone else, they don't have to worry about the fact that a patent of theirs is exclusively licensed. And we're also here to support the faculty in all of their research endeavors, entrepreneurial efforts, and really any interaction that they're going to have with industry. Okay. So as I said, the main goal of our office is to move technology out of the labs. And I think that if you look along the bottom of this slide, this is sort of the spectrum of going from the lab to the marketplace. And the university is pretty good at the research step, and we're never going to be very good at manufacturing or going to market. And so it's really the intermediary stage where we feel that we could improve and get things moving a little quicker. So part of this process is making sure our office is working well and that we've got system in place that we can get deals done with industry. But there are some other activities that we've been doing and are continuing to do to help move technologies along. So one is building some on-campus incubators. There's 2 that are currently at UCI, and there's several near UCI and more in the process of building those. And basically, new startups can leverage either on-campus resources or core facilities in order to help move the technology along. We've also had in the past and are continuing to focus on getting proof of concept funds. And Ryan mentioned this a little bit, where if you've got a technology that's pretty early, but it's not at a stage where the NIH is going to fund it. So it's far enough along that NIH isn't going to be involved. And putting together some funds where we can invest in that technology and move it to a point where we can get industry interested in it. And then lastly, this is something that's very new for UCI. We've recently started something called an Institute for Innovation. I'll talk about it more. And what it is, it's really a hub of entrepreneurial activity around the university. So as I mentioned, we started this. It just was created in September. It's called the Institute for Innovation. It's going to be renamed as soon as we get a naming donor. And and what it is, the concept is that it's a safe harbor for entrepreneurs. And the space has been branded as the Cove, and it's 30,000 square feet. And what's a little bit unique about this is it's not just supposed to be to support UCI. It's actually for the community. So anyone in the community could come in to this space and try to get support if they're an entrepreneur. Let's see. And so really the goal is to co-locate a high density of resources to have a more robust ecosystem in Orange County. And what's going to be housed at the Cove, we're already in this space, the Office of Technology Alliances, we're in there, and our focus is the same. We're still managing UCI technology. So if someone comes in from the outside, I'm not going to be starting to manage their portfolio, but they can tap into these other resources. So there will be incubators, there will be investment groups located at the Cove, mentors, other community organizations, prototyping, and we have a large event space. So part of our goal is to help build startups and to build companies. And so what we're developing are basically, we want to support all the different aspects that are needed for that. So if someone is launching a company, there's incubators there or prototypes. We want to have expertise and coaching for these entrepreneurs. So we have industry experts, other entrepreneurs that have done it before, and we're building out a network of these experts and mentors for people to access. There's going to be over 300 of them, and I think we've got about 150 signed up so far. And then the last leg of this is really the funding piece. And I mentioned a little bit about the commercialization grants, and this is when something's in the lab before they've started a company and really just to move the technology along a little bit. But we're also starting a seed fund, and this is a separate LLC. It's a $5 million fund that the management is housed at the Cove, and it's there to invest in Orange County companies. So again, it's not specific to UCI. It's actually a bit broader than that. And then we also have access to other funding stages. I'm not sure if people might have heard about the UC fund that was recently launched. That's a $250 million venture fund that was launched to invest in UC, and it doesn't even have to be UC owned. It could be a UC alumni, just something related to University of California. So this is all launching this spring, and the pieces are being put in place. So this is something that's an experiment for us, something really new. So it's jury's still out how this is all going to unfold. But we're located right next to UCI, so you can come and visit when you have a chance. The space is open. Let's see. So I wanted to mention one of our success stories coming out of UCI. We have all of our startups listed on our website, so you can definitely take a look at that. But one was a novel cure for tinnitus, which is ringing in the ears. And this was developed in the lab at UCI, and essentially just uses a low-pitched sound from an MP3 player in order to counteract what the patient is experiencing and their individual noise profile to eliminate the perception of their tinnitus. And this was funded by Allied Minds, which is a group that invests a lot in university startups. So finding venture funds that are very friendly to working with university startups is important to us. And now they are selling a product called Serenade and moving along. So, all right. Yep, that's all I have, and I'm happy to take questions. Thank you.
Great, thank you, Casie, and thank you to all of our panelists. I've got a couple of questions, but what I'd like to do is go ahead and open it up to the audience, because I know part of the heritage of this group is interaction from the audience of what's really top of mind to each of you, and we've got a great opportunity to interact with some very talented folks here on the panel. So if you please could make sure you get a microphone to ask your question, and we'll take it from there.
Hi, Jay Lee from Memorial Care. I'm a family doc, and one of the questions that I have for all of our panelists, perhaps except for Brant, who I know, is what are your strategies for engaging with the physician community? Because I think a lot of times there does seem to be a disconnect between those of us that are on the distal end of the delivery system and the ideas that are further upstream, and creating that gap. How do you fill that gap and bring the docs to the technology and the technology to the docs?
I can start a little bit with that. Please let me know if you can't hear me. So we have a couple of different strategies for engaging the physician community. One that has worked quite well is we have an innovation officers program that includes both physicians and administrators across the health system. It's not a huge program, but it's a mechanism for us to link in to physicians and understand what their needs are and share with them what we're finding and just get their feedback. So we do everything from including them in meetings that we're having with potential partners to hearing about their ideas and running scans for them to identify opportunities that might meet some of their needs internally. We also have, because we're linked to strategy, we have teams within the health system that include physicians that are leading specific strategy areas, and we work closely with them.
Yeah, the Cleveland Clinic has dedicated communication channels for that. So and you raise a good point. I think, most of the stuff that we see, I guess, passively, submitted to our office, or we don't have to actually go out and actively engage to get those disclosures, come from people like surgeons, specialists, et cetera, people with more of an academic bend. But the clinic has a number of clinics out in the community that they have to proactively go out to and solicit some of those ideas. And there is an effort to do that, to tap into that really untapped resource for innovation. And that's was partly the impetus behind forming the Innovations Healthcare Alliance Network. By partnering with other provider systems around the country is tapping into exactly that. The docs that are out in the clinics and practices that are 25 or fewer docs, really seeing asking the questions, what are they seeing? What are the needs that they see? There's a huge opportunity there. And so the clinic is really starting to embark on an active communication campaign to achieve that.
So for us, I work with a lot of physicians, and one of the ways that UCA tries to engage them is to have seminars where a clinician will come and just talk about the problems that they're having, and they'll be presenting to maybe our bioengineering group. And so then that'll get them talking and try to get them paired up with people who might have lab space, and maybe get them a small grant to try and work on that, but basically trying to have our engineers and scientists hear directly from the physician what are their pain points and what do they wish was working better.
Yeah, that's great. And if you can take a pain point, solve it, and then turn it into a commercial product, that's a double win, because you get the efficiencies plus the upside on the revenue. And I know at St. Joseph, in the first year that we rolled out the program, about 50% of the 100 or so innovations were from physicians, then about 50% from staff up and down the organization. And actually, they're incented with 40% of the net proceeds, not just the physicians, but any inventor. So if there's a licensing deal that's struck, the inventor gets 40% of the net proceeds. So that's one way to engage, is to offer that as well. Next question, please.
So I had a question. What do you do, or how do you recommend for let's say the individuals that are approaching you, where do you direct them if they don't meet your criteria? Let's say that you have some filters set where it makes no sense. Let's say that technology is valuable, but they just, for the circumstances, don't meet. What are the resources there?
I guess it depends on why it doesn't meet our criteria, but I mean, I think our goal, is to give them as much feedback as we can. If more work needs to go into it, if it's just not ready yet to be put out there, maybe there's some funding that can help move it along. If it's not something that our office would manage, then we would just, let the investigator know that they could just own that themselves. It depends. It really depends on the reasoning. Yeah.
Yeah, and for us, that actually comes up quite a bit, where we get really good entrepreneurs and really good companies that we can certainly see the value for. But if it's too early stage for us, or if it's in a strategic area that is not a high enough priority within Memorial Care or Cedars, or if there's just kind of a disconnect between, hey, maybe we already have a company in that space that they're in, so we don't want to invest in competitors, right? But what we do is we certainly have a network of co-investors, and there's a lot of incubators out there and accelerators out there that if they're very early stage, we can recommend them to. Tech Coast Angels, I think that Casie had in her slides, is definitely another group that we refer them to if they're later stage. I've worked with most of the larger venture funds out there and can direct them that way. And we also have a very good network of other healthcare systems that are doing what I'm doing on the investment side, and I can guide them to those healthcare systems as well.
Yeah, I think I'd just like to echo what Casie said. We employ a lot of those same techniques, trying to, it really depends on why the opportunity doesn't fit our initiative and how we would then go forward. But one thing that we might do, so we're very needs focused. So if an innovation is brought to us and it's a $100 solution to a $10 problem, but the $10 problem is real, we might say, you know what, your solution might not be the best approach to meet this need, but let's get you in touch with an engineer or with some other folks that you can work together to create a $5 solution to that $10 problem or something like that. So we try not to, if the need can be validated, we try to then find another way to meet that need and find another opportunity to keep that inventor engaged. Especially, inventor engagement is a very important component of what we do. I'm sure it's pretty obvious why. So keeping them engaged and making them not feel as though they were, given short shrift. So it's all about feedback. It's about wherever we can help them try to articulate their idea or take it in another direction that might be more fruitful. We try to help them there if we can.
That's great. And I think if you go back to that chart on the progression of the innovation models, what you really want is that culture of innovation. So though that idea may not hit for that inventor, what you really want is serial entrepreneurs, serial inventors. So maybe it doesn't work this time, but come back with a different idea. I know we're tight on time. I think maybe time for one more question.
A quick question. I'm Leslie Smart, and my question is for you, Katherine. The zipnosis app looked really interesting, and I'm just wondering, how is that patient-generated data being, and actually the physician response as well, being entered into the EHR, documented, and then has a reimbursement model been built around it?
So zipnosis actually has an HL7 interface that would allow it to integrate in. We have Epic. We're testing it before we do that mechanism, but we are doing a data download, and then it's being transferred into our electronic medical record. So it is being incorporated now, and there's an even better way of doing it. And then as it relates to reimbursement, this is $25 out of pocket. So we're not going through payers and so forth. So it's a $25. We feel like that covers the missed morning of work and parking sufficiently that it will likely be worthwhile to the patient.